Imagine running from your own life. Not because you are in danger, but because the pain of reality has become too heavy to carry. That is where Nicole Kidman was. And as an actor, she had the perfect escape, losing herself in someone else's story. But no matter how far she ran into her roles, there was one story she could never escape. Her own. And it is far darker than anything Hollywood ever put on screen. When Nicole met Tom Cruise, she was 22 years old. A rising star from Australia, still figuring out who she was. He was 27, already untouchable, one of the biggest names on the planet. They met on the set of Days of Thunder in 1989, and by the time filming wrapped, they were inseparable. He proposed within months. They married on Christmas Eve 1990 in a ceremony so private that almost no photographs exist. For a decade, they were Hollywood royalty. 2 adopted children. Sprawling estates. Magazine covers. Red carpets. And Nicole has said it herself, she was young, completely swept up, and believed they would be together forever. But here is the thing. From the inside, something was already shifting. Something she would not fully understand until it was too late. The cracks began during the filming of Eyes Wide Shut. Stanley Kubrick's final film, a dark, unsettling exploration of marriage, jealousy, and obsession. Tom and Nicole played a couple on the verge of collapse. They spent 2 years filming in London. And according to former Scientology officials, that is exactly when the church started to panic. Tom had been a Scientologist since 1986. The church did not just value him, they needed him. But in London, he was drifting.
Fewer courses.
Less contact with leadership. Every day on set with Nicole and Kubrick. And the church did not like that one bit. Former executive Mark Rathbun later claimed that David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, blamed Nicole personally. Called her a negative influence. Viewed her as someone pulling Tom away from the faith. But Rathbun went further. He said Miscavige ordered surveillance on Nicole. Her phone tapped. Private investigators following her. Conversations she believed were private, recorded and sent directly to church leadership. The church has denied all of it. But what happened next is undeniable. In February 2001, Tom Cruise filed for divorce. Nicole told Vanity Fair she did not see it coming. She was totally in love. She wanted to be with him. And she was pregnant at the time. Shortly after the divorce was announced, she suffered a miscarriage. Try to hold that for a moment. You are carrying a child. You are married to the person you love. And then, without warning, all of it is gone. But the loss of the marriage was only the beginning. What came next would be far harder to survive. According to multiple former Scientologists, the church had been quietly working to separate them for years. They saw Nicole as a liability, a barrier between their most valuable celebrity and his commitment to the faith. When Tom returned to Scientology after the divorce, he returned harder than ever. Standing on stage with Miscavige, celebrated as a hero of the faith. And Nicole, reportedly, was labeled something far more sinister, a suppressive person. In Scientology, that is not just a title. It is a sentence. Members are forbidden from maintaining contact with someone declared an SP. It does not matter if that person is a former spouse. It does not matter if that person is a mother. Isabella and Connor were 9 and 6 years old when their parents divorced. They were raised primarily by Tom after the split. And according to former church members, they were systematically turned against their mother. Mark Rathbun has said he personally witnessed efforts to convince the children that Nicole was dangerous, that maintaining a close relationship with her would damage their own spiritual progress. Nicole has spoken about this carefully. But what she has revealed is heartbreaking enough. Her children stopped calling her mom. They call me Nicole, she said. Which I hate, and I tell them off for it. You raised 2 children from infancy. You were there for their first words, their first steps, every birthday and ordinary Tuesday evening. And then you are not their mother anymore. You are just Nicole. She spent years trying to maintain a relationship with them. Every step forward complicated by the faith they chose, or perhaps the faith that was chosen for them. Connor became a Scientologist in his own right. Isabella married a fellow Scientologist in 2015. Tom attended the wedding. Nicole was reportedly not invited. And every time she was asked about her children's faith, she gave the same answer. I respect their choices. I love them unconditionally. But you can hear what she is not saying underneath those words. Because she did not lose her children to a custody agreement. She lost them to something no courtroom could touch. Think about what that silence actually looks like from the inside. Reaching for the phone to call Isabella, then putting it back down. Dialing Connor's number and hanging up before it rings. Coming home from a film premiere and falling apart behind closed doors where nobody can see. That is not a breakup. That is an amputation. And the worst part? The distance was not physical. It was engineered. There was no flight she could book, no door she could knock on, no argument she could win that would undo what the church had built between them. So what did she do? She worked. She threw herself into her career with a ferocity that surprised everyone around her. In 2002, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress for The Hours. Role after role after role. And in 2005, she met Keith Urban, a country music star, Australian like her, charming in a way that reminded some people of the young Tom Cruise. They fell in love fast, got engaged within months, married in Sydney in June 2006. But just 4 months into the marriage, Keith checked into rehab for alcohol addiction. Nicole stayed. She supported him through recovery when many would have walked away. And when he came out the other side, he credited her with saving his life. "I was born into her," he said. They had 2 daughters together, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret. And for the first time, Nicole had the family she had always wanted, one that belonged entirely to her. One where she was fully, completely, the mother. But here is what makes Nicole Kidman different from almost anyone else in this story. Even after everything, the unanswered calls, the wedding she was not invited to, the years of polite distance, she never stopped hoping. She never publicly attacked the church. Never lashed out at Tom. She carried it all with a grace that would have broken most people. And then, in September 2024, something shifted. Nicole's mother, Yanelle, passed away. It was a devastating loss. Yanelle had shared the pain of being estranged from her own grandchildren. But after the funeral, according to reports, Isabella and Connor reached out. Not a full reconciliation. Not a return to the way things were. But a message. A sign that the door might not be completely closed. Nicole has not confirmed the details publicly. She keeps those things close. But those who know her say she cried when she received it. Because after 23 years, it was the first real sign that her children still thought of her as more than just Nicole. She is 58 years old now. One of the most acclaimed actresses of her generation. Oscars, Golden Globes, a career that would define anyone else's entire life. But the people closest to her will tell you what she thinks about late at night. It is not the awards. It is Isabella and Connor. It is the quiet question of whether she missed something, fought hard enough, held on tight enough when everything was slipping away. She never blamed Tom publicly. She never said the word Scientology with anger. But grace does not mean the pain is gone. It just means she chose not to let the pain make her cruel. Nicole Kidman did not just lose a husband. She lost an entire family to a force that operates outside of logic, outside of love, outside of anything a mother can fight against with her bare hands. And every time she says those words, "I love them unconditionally," what she is really saying is something far simpler. I am still here. I have always been here. And I am waiting for them to come home.